Hello everyone in YouTube, Stick, and we back again for another comparison video. Today we're going to compare the J3 Prime with the Motorola E4. We're going to put these two phones together, look to the differences, the specifications, the camera, the battery, and all that stuff. So without any further ado, let's find out. Let's kick off the comparison, start with the design and the build construction. The colors available for the J3, it will be only black and only gold for the Motorola E4. Now, if you want to put these two phones together side to side, we will notice that the Motorola a little bit bigger and the bezels very much bigger. Even that phone doesn't have any physical keys like the Samsung. It has capacitive keys plus has physical home button and still smaller phone, and this point I will give Samsung a thumbs up. Over here we have internal speaker and we have a front speaker and the internal speaker in one place from Motorola, proximity sensor, and we have a flash. So that's another good point, that the front facing camera for Motorola has a flash. From the side we have the volume keys and power, and we have the mini USB microphone, and this phone has the buttons attached with the back of the phone, as you guys notice over here. I don't know how those gonna be durable for the future. And the camera on the back, I mean, it doesn't have speaker or anything like that, because this phone has the speaker on the front, which is very good position for the speaker, noise cancellation, and you have the 8 megapixel sensor and you have the flash. And here's the back of the phone, is very smooth and it looks premium. It's all made out of plastic, and here's little dumbbell has the logo of the device. The other side doesn't have anything or whatsoever. And from the front you'll see the 3.5 audio jack. Now for the Samsung, has the speaker on the side. Also, this is another good position for the speaker, and we have only 5 megapixel flash, and the buttons will be just only from the right side, the power, and you have the home key as we have mentioned before, 3.5 jack and mini USB noise cancellation. These phones doesn't have either any notification LED, so when you charge the phones or when you receive a text message, you're not going to see any lights pop up. Both phones also made out of pure plastic. Samsung is more sleek when you hand the phone or when you grip the phone, which is give more control in one hand usage. The Motorola a little bit chunkier and it has some curves and stuff like that. Both, even if it's plastic, in my opinion, doesn't look too cheap, but I prefer the Samsung design over the Motorola. But this is back to the users at the end. Now we're going to talk about the phone displays. Now, as a size, both phones were the same size, 5-inch, and the resolution is about the same resolution. We have 720p HD and we have 294 for the PPI. So very much we have the same specifications here, but we have completely different material made display. So we have IPS display on the Motorola E4, and we have a TFT display on the Samsung Galaxy J3 Prime. But now I just want to show you some of the videos. Let's go ahead and have a look on the M5. As you guys can see, here's the red color over here, while also want to show you the Motorola. Let's gonna go ahead and have a look and see the differences in colors. So now we're gonna go ahead and play both videos just to see the differences. First of all, if you guys have noticed that the colors on the J3 Prime more vivid and more rich than the Motorola E4, even the IPS TFT. I believe Samsung, they know how to make displays. Another thing also pay my attention, the white balance. On the Samsung Galaxy, white is white, while the Motorola E4, I just noticed that the white very much going to be yellowish a little bit. So in my opinion, both phones has a great display with a great amount of PPI, and the resolution is very reasonable, because these budget phones at the end. But for the colors, vividness, and the color saturation and the white balance, I will give big thumbs up to Samsung over the Motorola E4. The view angle in both phones, I believe it's very good. You're not going to see any drop colors or any problems. I have just noticed this in both devices, so you're still going to be able to see everything just good. I have to put both phones in high brightness because I want to show you the max you can get from these phones, as well as outdoors. I believe both phones are going to do a good job as well. Now let's go ahead and jump on the speakers, and we're gonna test these speakers out. The Motorola, as I said earlier, the speakers should be located on the front, and the Samsung should be located on the side of the phone, so we don't have back speaker, which is good in my opinion. Now these phones are rocking on mono speakers, so we don't have a stereo speaker or something like that. But first, let's go ahead and play music, and let's notice which phone is going to be louder, and then we will talk about it. Okay, first of all, this phone on the high volume, so just to be fair enough, just want to show you. Go ahead and play the music on the Motorola E4. And then go to the J3. Go again to the Motorola. Now we're gonna notice two things. First of all, the Samsung has louder speaker, which is generate higher volume, and has more treble. And the Motorola is not loud as the Samsung, but it has more bass. So if you want to listen to music that has more bass, maybe the Motorola give you better experience. But if you want to just listen to stuff that doesn't have music, triple and louder speaker, it gives better performance. And this is totally up to the users what they prefer. But in general, I'm satisfied with the sound quality in both phones. Since these phones are budget devices, we can't get more than that. So the position is very good in both phones on the side. Either you like it on the side or in the front, also very good position. We don't have anything on the back, and the quality, it's very decent. Now let's move on, talk about battery in these phones. Both phones, you can remove the battery, replace them, swap another one, buy spare one in the future, which is good in my opinion. And the J3 Prime has 2600 milliamp power, and the Motorola E4 has 2800 milliamps power, which is 200 more for the Motorola E4. But let's go ahead and look to the battery usage over here. We're going to notice that the Samsung has used 25% and 17% only for screen. So being on screen on time. On the Motorola, of course, the screen doesn't consume a lot because it's an IPS display compared to the TFT. TFT, of course, consume a lot more. Now we're going to talk about the other things because the operating system and standby mode, etc. We have noticed that Samsung drain more from the battery. Let's go ahead and jump on screen on time just to see that. Okay, so Samsung basically 2 hours and 48 minutes screen on time, and we still about 35%. That means it could pass 3 hours to 4 hours screen on time, while the Motorola 3 hours and 31 minutes, and we have around 45%, around 50% juice from the battery. That means you can go easily over 4 hours screen on time. Battery is something hard to judge because it depends how we use the phones, what the brightness is. If we are playing games or browsing internet, watching movies, the consumption for the battery is going to be different. But overall, from that battery usage, here we just noticed that 2800 milliamps power, more optimized with the operating system and the screen, so it consumes less on the Motorola E4. So I will give this to Motorola for having a better phone battery performance. Now we're going to talk about hardware, but overall hardware is very similar in these phones. We are going to show you also Geekbench score just to show you the results. But before that, let me go ahead and have a look on the specifications. The J3 Prime has 1.4 gigahertz quad-core processor. Chipset, it will be Exynos, this time 7770, and we have Mali for the GPU T720, and 1.5 GB of RAM and 16 GB internal storage. This is very decent specification for a budget device. On the other hand, we have the Motorola E4 Snapdragon 425 chipset with 1.4 GHz processor, also a quad-core processor, 2 GB of RAM. I believe it helps when you're going between applications or the recent application. I've done video already for speed test comparison. I will leave this one on the description box below if you guys be interested to see the performance. So overall, we don't have a huge difference in the specifications, as well as I want to just mention that the GPU on the Motorola, it will be Adreno 308. Also in this video, I want to show you games comparison between these two phones just to see which phone gonna play the game better than the other one. Now I want to show you the Geekbench score just to translate these specifications to numbers so that way you guys know where that phone stands. And this is the Geekbench score: 602 single core and 1846, while we have 634 1819. Let me tell you something, the difference on the multi-core a little bit for the Samsung, but overall these phones stand with the same level of the performance. Also, I would love to see the performance of the graphics in both phones. So if you want to play games on these phones, which phone is going to give a better performance? Now I have played the game already, just want to show you here. I have it, I'm playing right now on the J3 Prime. I mean, the experience of playing Need for Speed in this device is very nice and very smooth, as you guys can see. I mean, I just want you to see the graphics, no any frame drops, very smooth, no lagness, and no problem whatsoever. Now let's go ahead and move the Motorola and see how Motorola is gonna perform for playing the same game. Now the turn for the Motorola E4, we're gonna play the game, the same game we just play, and we're gonna try to notice the difference. As you guys can tell right now, I can tell that the frame it dropped, so the game is not smooth and it's not fast as the, I mean, look to the games, guys. It's not like that's very smooth like the Samsung. And I believe Samsung here, they made better performance for the GPU, for the graphics. If you guys can see, you see some kind of lagness. And when you play even the game is not fast enough as it should be. Now we're going to talk about the sensors. We have downloaded application called Sensor Box. It will show us what sensor available in each device. Now if you just look to the sensors over here, we're going to find out they're very identical, except that we don't have gyroscope in Motorola E4, while we have gyroscope J3 Prime, and the light sensor is not available in J3, and we have light sensor on Motorola E4. Light sensor is not that important sensor. In my opinion, the gyroscope is more important. It will enable you to play 360 videos and VR content at the same time, and you can play some video games that depends on the gyroscope. So I want to give Samsung here a big thumbs up for have the gyroscope in their budget device. Now if you are wondering about the operating system, the Motorola E has 7.1.1 and Samsung has 7.0.1. Little update for the Motorola over the Samsung. Maybe a little bit more update for Motorola means the phone has Google Assistance, while if you just go to Samsung, the phone doesn't have Google Assistance. But fortunately, both phones have the multi-screen, where you can have multi-screen, multi-applications, which is great. Now, these phones doesn't support screen mirroring, doesn't support NFC as well. Samsung, they very much use the TouchWiz. Samsung doesn't care much about budget device, so do not expect that Samsung they're gonna push updates. While we have stock Android and Motorola, it may Motorola, you know what I mean, they have more potential to push more updates since they are using the stock Android. I like the way that both phones or the Android looks. I mean, both they're very snappy. I haven't noticed no lagness or problems unless if I push these phones to the limit. So for just basic stuff, basic application, they'll use both phones. They're gonna do you very good with no problems. Now, I'm not trying to cast away with every single features in the Android, but we would just want to talk about the main differences over here. One thing makes the experience for the Motorola a little different, which is something called Moto, and then from there I believe you can do a shrink screen. If you want to shrink the screen, that means you can just make the screen smaller. You just have to go like this, and then you have a smaller screen. This will help you if you want to use the phone in one hand. You don't have this feature in Samsung, and I don't believe this is a very useful feature because the screen only 5-inch, but if you need it, it's available here in the Motorola. Other than that, we don't have a lot of features, a lot of tips and tricks in these devices. Doesn't have even fingerprint, so very basic things in these phones just to make it more affordable for you. Last thing, we're going to talk about the camera, but I don't want to make this video to be longer. We're just going to talk about specifications for each camera on the phone, and then if you guys want me to make a video, separate video camera comparison between these two phones, please write this down on the comment below, so that way I know that you guys are interesting to see that kind of video. But we have 5 megapixel for a front with the flash for Motorola, and we have 8 megapixel also with flash on the back. The Samsung has 2 megapixel for a front, has a beauty mode, of course, takes full HD. By the way, in both phones you can take full HD videos. We have 5 megapixel camera with the flash in the back, no flash on the front. So on paper, yes, Motorola has more specification for a camera, has a front flash, but believe me, megapixel is not everything in the phones. From my experience in both phones, I have noticed that these phones provide very good, decent pictures, especially outdoors. Indoors, you get some of noises and stuff like that. We can be more detailed if you guys want to see a camera comparison, so that way we can put two pictures and we compare these pictures together just to see the differences. At the time of making the video, the price tag for the J3 Prime $69 and Motorola for $49. You talk about $20 difference in the price. Now you're gonna let me know which phone you're gonna choose, which phone is better. Please let me know, give me your opinion, put in a comment below, as well as don't forget to leave a thumbs up and you subscribe more for future contents on Varieties Tech. Thank you so much everyone for watching, and don't forget to turn on the bell. Every time I post a video, you will be notified. As always, guys, talk to you in my next one.